Okay, well, thank you for joining. So this is our volunteer orientation for everyone who's interested in helping out at the Animal Welfare League of Charlotte County. My name is Stephanie Crum. I'm the volunteer coordinator, but we will get to that very soon. So a little bit of our agenda for today. We're going to do brief introductions of just myself and the organization. I'm going to talk a little bit about the mission and the good work that we do here. I will give you a rundown of our more popular volunteer opportunities and let you know kind of what we expect, kind of the ground rules for our volunteers here. And then finally, I'm going to show you how to actually sign up, how to log in and track your hours. So as I said before, my name is Stephanie Crum. You can see a picture of me adopting one of my dogs that I got from the Animal Welfare League. Her name is Gypsy. Hi, Gypsy. So I was actually a volunteer here for quite a few years. I really started in 2018, although technically I dabbled here and there with volunteering for years before that. And I was a volunteer until 2023 when I became a staff member. I worked as a kennel tech at the intake building. That's where the cats and dogs come in first, maybe as strays or as owner surrenders, and we evaluate them there at intake. So yes, I'm the volunteer and canine enrichment coordinator. I help all the new volunteers kind of get used to the system around here, figure out what it is that they like to help out with. I help the longer term volunteers kind of work through any issues that they're having, or I help them kind of expand on their roles as much as they're willing to expand. But we do have a ton of different opportunities for our volunteers, which we'll get into in a little bit. If you ever need to contact me, the best way to contact me is with the volunteers at awlshelter.org email. You can find this on our website, but you also have it because I've already contacted you with this email. So check your inbox and you should already have this email. So a little bit about the Animal Welfare League. We are a nonprofit animal shelter. I'm not sure that there are for-profit animal shelters, but we're one of the nonprofits. And we are a no-kill shelter. And in case you are unfamiliar with that term, no-kill means that you have a save rate or a live release rate of 90%. 90% of all the animals that come into the facility leave the facility alive. And you'll see our save rate here in a second. And it also means a no-kill shelter will not kill for space. They will never euthanize an animal to make space for an incoming animal. And so that applies to us. We have above 90% save rate, and we never euthanize for space. However, one of the challenges that we do have is that we have a contract with our local government. This is good and bad. It is good because it provides us extra funding, which we desperately need. A lot of our funding comes from the generosity of our community, but that is not going to be enough to pay the bills. We do get help from our local government, but the downside to that is that we have very little control over how many animals enter our facility and which animals enter our facility. We don't really have the luxury of cherry picking, like, that seems like a really nice adoptable animal, let's bring that one in. It's really up to animal control. And in addition, it turns out that a lot of our animals end up being strays. The vast majority of the animals coming in are strays who we don't know a whole lot about. It takes a little bit of extra time to get that good picture of who this animal really is, but we just don't have that background information that would typically help us find a good home for some of the pets that we have in our care. So that's a bit of a challenge for us. I used to be a math teacher, so I'm really into the numbers here. Maybe you're just as interested as I am. We began housing Charlotte County's homeless animals in 1963, a long time ago. We didn't have a building quite in 1963. It was about a decade after that that we have our first building on the same site that it is today. Our intake building was originally the adoption center and intake building. It did everything, and if you've ever seen it, it's quite small. But that was what we operated out of in the 70s. An interesting fact that we should be very proud of is that we have an average save rate. Now, this fluctuates from month to month, but the average save rate is 97%. That is very high. It's well above the 90% threshold that qualifies us as a no-kill shelter. We also take in a tremendous number of animals every month, about, again, it's like an average, about 200 animals per month so far in 2024. That's a lot of animals, cats and dogs. And you can see, this is our recent statistic. We have about 363 animals in our care. That changes again from day to day, depending on who got adopted, who showed up, but it's around that number right now, with 123 dogs and 238 cats. Notice that there's about twice as many cats as there are dogs. And that's normal. That's always how it is, no matter what time of year. Something very pleasant to note is that 363, that is the lowest it's been in years. So we've had, through a lot of effort from our operations manager and our director and our adoption staff, we have gotten so much more manageable in the number of animals in our care. And we have a lot of people who should be very proud of themselves, because it means we can provide better care to the animals that we have. So we have about 30 staff members right now. They're not all full-time. Some of them are, some of them aren't. But if you compare that number to the number of active volunteers we have, you can see, boy, we sure do rely on our volunteers. So 400 active volunteers compared to just 30 regular staff members. And you can see that our volunteers logged over 30,000 hours of work so far this year. Right now, I'm recording this in early November. So by the end of the year, it's going to be even more. So we definitely rely heavily on the generosity of our volunteers and the gift of their time. They are the only reason that we are able to reach our shelter goals every day. So our shelter goals, it does not matter if it's summer or winter, it can be raining, it can be sunny, it can be swelteringly hot. Our volunteers are still going to show up. Thanksgiving, Christmas, these animals still have to be cared for. They still have to eat. I'm not saying every volunteer should show up on Christmas morning, but some of them are going to. It's actually a really nice feeling showing up on Christmas morning for your buddies at the shelter. I loved it as a volunteer. But every single day, regardless of the day, these tasks have to be complete. So every animal enclosure has to be cleaned. Every animal has to be fed twice a day. Every animal receives any prescription medication that they have been prescribed. Each cat has to be socialized. Each dog has to be walked at least twice a day. We'd love to have more, but twice is the hope of our minimum every single day. And our dedicated volunteers are the only reason that we can make that happen. So how can you help? Some of the highlights, some of the easier starting positions that you might be interested in include laundry. You can see a really cute picture of Harry here. Harry is one of our senior dogs who went into foster and then was ultimately adopted by his foster mom. But you can see him doing some laundry here. It's a great assignment for new volunteers who don't really know where to start. They love cats, they love dogs, but they're not really sure what assignment's going to suit them best. It's a good way to dip your toes in, I guess, without taking on too much like training right at the very beginning. There's very little training required for laundry because we have regular laundry machines. There's nothing fancy going on back there. And there's really not a lot of rules to follow. The rules are going to be listed in the laundry room itself. And of course, you can always ask me or another staff member, or you can ask another volunteer who is used to working in the laundry room. They will bring you up to speed very quickly. So what do? You're obviously going to clean and organize soiled blankets, towels, and soft toys for both the cats and the dogs. It's important because, of course, every dog and cat needs clean bedding. We want them to be comfortable. And of course, we want to reduce disease, which can be transferred from a blanket to one dog to the next, right? You can also work in cat care if you're a big cat person. We have both on-site cat care and we have off-site cat care. So if you do enjoy working in the shelter environment, please come help us out at the shelter itself. But let's say that you're a little bit far from the shelter. You live maybe 20 minutes or more out. But you also happen to live very close to one of our partnering pet stores. Please consider doing cat care at one of those pet stores. We have needed for quite some time more help at our Pet Supplies Plus locations, our Pet Supermart locations. We have Pet Supermarket, I should say. We have Petco and we have PetSmart right next to each other. And they also house some of our cats who still, of course, need to eat. They still need their litter box scooped. They need everything the same that the shelter cats do. So what would you do if you're working cat care? You're going to clean the litter boxes. You're going to wash the dishes. In particular, you're going to set up the enclosures. We have a system that the staff and the other volunteers will be happy to show you. A certain number of towels are going to go here, and then you're going to place the food over here. So we like it uniform like that so that we're not overusing any supplies. And then finally, socializing the cats is a big deal too. We actually have an entirely separate assignment called cat enrichment that you're welcome to try out. It's also kind of a low barrier to entry starting assignment for a lot of people who love cats. So socializing the cats would involve playing with them, just petting them, kind of meeting them where they're at. What are they interested in, right? Let's cater to what they want to do right now and make interacting with humans a very positive thing. So that's kind of. So what training is required to work in the cat care assignment? Well, not much, thankfully. It's not going to be an intensive training, but we do ask that you meet with one of our cat care staff. That's right now either Stacy or Brandon, or I should add Kathy to this list. So dog care. It's good for dog lovers who don't necessarily feel comfortable handling the dogs, taking them in and out of the kennel. That can be kind of intimidating if you've ever been back there, or if you've tried. Some people have all the confidence in the world until they actually are leashing the dog up and getting dragged throughout the kennel. But what do you do? So dog care is very similar to cat care. It might be a little bit more physically intensive than cat care, just because it's a bigger space that the dogs take up. But you're gonna be cleaning the kennels. You're gonna be washing dishes. We would love it if you would pass out the hard like Nylabone toys or the Benebone toys, or we have some hard rubber like Kong kind of material. And then just passing out treats and kind of socializing with the dogs while they're still in their kennels. So why is this important? Same idea as the cat care. A clean kennel improves the dog's mental well-being. They don't want to be in their own filth all the time. Of course, none of us want that for ourselves or for the dogs, right? And just having a nice presentable area for the public to walk through when they're interested in adopting animals, that looks a lot more adoptable than a dog that doesn't look potty trained, right? So it's very important for their adoptability that we make sure their enclosures are very clean. The training involved with dog care is, again, on the lighter side. We are going to ask that you partner with a staff member or someone who has worked dog care for a few shifts at that point, just to give you an idea of, again, at this time of day, what are we doing? It's going to change depending on if you're working in the AM shift or the PM shift. And what time of day did you arrive for your AM shift? Some things might already be done, right? But we do things in a sequential order. So training, kind of like shadowing the people who are more experienced for just a couple of hours, is going to open you up to work that assignment solo. Play-yard assistant is another good one for people who love dogs, but maybe they aren't, again, super confident in their dog walking skills. They don't necessarily want to handle the dogs, but they love the dogs themselves. And they do want more interaction with the dogs than necessarily you're going to get with dog care. So what are you going to do? You're going to monitor the dogs while they're out in the play yard. So that means making sure they don't climb out of the fence, making sure they don't dig holes underneath the fence. So making sure the dog is safe, and definitely in the enclosure. But you also want to just have fun with them. You want to play with them. Some of them love to fetch. Some of them love the rope toys. We have jolly balls in there that they'll chase around. Those are those big plastic balls that the dogs can kind of push along themselves. But yeah, we have all kinds of fun toys for them in the play yards. And then you can love on them. You can sit on a bench with them. You can work on some of their commands with them if you'd like. There's all kinds of stuff that you can do that would just really brighten the mood of the dogs. This is like the fun job. This is, you get to be the fun uncle when you're the play yard assistant. So what training is required? We actually do ask that you shadow one of our dog walkers so that you understand the protocol, you understand the procedures that the dog walkers are going to be working through when they are feeding you these dogs. So while you will not actually be handling the dogs yourself, the dog walkers are going to be walking from the building to your play yard with the dogs. They will be dropping the dogs off. They'll go maybe walk another dog, come back and pick that dog back up. It's important that you, as the play yard assistant, understand the processes that the people who are helping you are going through. So we do ask that you go through dog walker training. So it is a little intensive. Pictured here is Domino. As of this recording, he is still at the shelter, but you can see he loves his toys. I picked him for this photo for a reason. Domino is super playful. So now we get to like the big one, dog walker. We always need more dog walkers. Right now we have a manageable population, but still we want to get those dogs out at least twice a day, hopefully more. We would love to have a maximum of 4 walks a day. That would be great for these dogs. So it is our most critical need at the shelter, not to say we don't need all the other things, we do. But what do? Well, you safely provide dogs with their daily walks around the grounds. Why is it important? This is kind of our number one tool right now for providing enrichment for our dogs, giving them some good quality of life, right? They want to be out of their kennel. They want to be sniffing the leaves outdoors. They want to feel that breeze in their fur. This is super critical for their mental health. It says here, it tremendously reduces kennel stress. That is one of the biggest problems we face in sheltering, is like it's super stressful in that environment, and this is one way we alleviate that stress. And then it also just helps house-trained dogs stay house-trained. If they are given the opportunity to go outside and potty there, they're not going to potty in their kennels. That's super good for them too. If we can tell a potential adopter, yeah, he regularly holds it, right? He waits till he's outside. That's great. That's a great selling point. So we want to make sure that we maintain that housebroken quality in a dog. So how do you become a dog walker? Well, this is the one that takes the most training for sure. So dog walker training is going to start with, well, you're just a dog walker trainee. You let me know I'm interested in dog walking. Okay, so I give you the dog walker trainee assignment. You'll have your yellow name tag, which every other type of volunteer will have. So you haven't yet been distinguished as like someone who is ready to walk dogs solo. After you undergo this orientation that you're in right now, we can schedule a shadowing session with an experienced dog walker. We have several different trainers who are ready to help you learn. So we ask for a minimum of 4 hours. It may be more. It's not going to be less. And if you would like, if you go through those 4 hours and you've been given the okay, that you're ready to be a dog walker, but let's say you're like, I don't know, I don't feel comfortable yet. I'm not quite there. I still want to do a little bit of shadowing. That's totally okay. We can give you even further shadowing experience if you request it. So it doesn't have to be done all at once. It can be done over several sessions. Most people do it in 2 sessions. I would recommend that you train for PM shifts. If you're available in the afternoon at any time, but they're a little bit less involved with protocol and procedure. The mornings are a little bit more hectic. So I would recommend that you start with your first training, your first shadowing in an afternoon shift, but that's not necessarily required. So once you've finished your dog walking shadowing, then you are going to be granted a blue name tag, and you will be designated as a blue dog walker. That means that you are qualified to, on your own, walk all the blue dogs in our facility. Now, that doesn't mean we want you to walk every single one of those dogs, but any dog that you feel comfortable with, you are allowed to walk solo. At that same time you get your blue tag, you're also going to get an orange safety whistle in case that we have a loose dog. That's usually what it is. A dog got loose. You can blow your whistle and yell, "Loose dog, someone help me get him." But you may also come across a dog fight. That's pretty rare around here. It does not happen very often. But in the case that you are witnessing a dog fight, don't try to break it up. Use your safety whistle and staff will arrive and do what they can to help out. But don't try to manage that yourself. So let's say you have your blue dog walker assignment. You've been working it for a few different shifts, and you think, boy, these blue dogs are pretty easy. Well, great news, you can always bump up to a red dog walker. So a red dog walker is qualified to walk any red collared dogs. A blue dog is going to have a blue collar and a blue name tag. A red dog is going to have a red collar and a red name tag on his kennel. So a red dog walker, they're qualified to walk more challenging dogs. You're going to need at least 4 blue dog walking sessions before you can approach me about saying, hey, I'd love to be promoted to a red dog walker. How can we get that started? There's not really additional training required for that. It's really more, I pair you up with an experienced red dog walker, and they can let me know, yeah, he or she is ready. They know what they're doing, or they could say, I don't think they're quite ready yet. If you're interested in doing more than just the blue dogs, know that you will eventually be given the opportunity to walk those harder red dogs. So I also have a couple of newer assignments that I'm trying to push, that I'm trying to get started here. The first of which is a pet lost and found. So we have all kinds of animals entering our intake facility as strays. And oftentimes nobody comes looking for them. As much as we try to make the shelter a nice, comfortable, welcoming place for our animals, a shelter is a traumatic place to be for a lot of animals. So the shortest stay there possible is the best case scenario for these animals. We would love to assist these strays in finding their original families. Right now, we don't have a whole lot of people to dedicate towards that, so I'd love to build a team of people who are interested in maybe going out to wherever the animal was found, knocking on some doors, putting up some flyers. This is one of those assignments where there's not going to be any animal handling required. You don't have to be comfortable walking a dog to put up a poster of that dog. In terms of the adoption counselor role that you see here, I would love to involve our volunteers more in getting the potential adopters matched with a good fit from our available animals. Sometimes our volunteers know more about the animals than the staff does, and they might be better at selecting a good companion for these people than our staff. The volunteers also might just have a little bit more time to dedicate to providing good customer service, right? So this adoption counselor role, I see it as both the before the adoption process help and then post adoption process. So after a dog or a cat has been taken home, maybe follow up with that family, see, do you need any extra assistance? Are things going great? Hopefully. Can we get some cute pictures that we can share with staff and volunteers to kind of make it all like come together and see this is the whole point of all the work that we've been putting in, is to get these animals into happy homes. Dog enrichment, we've talked about a bit already. It's just kind of like dog mental health, right? Taking care of the sensory needs of our dogs as well. They're very sensory animals. They're particularly scent-based animals, so they're going to want more opportunities to use that sense of smell. They want to be using their brains. They want to socialize, right? They want to express natural dog behaviors, right? And so I'm hoping to get a team of volunteers who can help me start that process, get this program up and running. That would be great. And finally, we're starting a Doggy Days Out program where if you are interested, whether you're a volunteer or just some person off the street, you can come take a dog for a short-term foster. Maybe you want to go out on the town with the dog. Maybe you want to go for a little hike in one of the neighboring parks that we have. Maybe you just want to go for a slumber party at your own house. Any one of those is fine. We would love to gather more information, really is the idea behind this, about our dogs so that we can match them up better with potential adopters. Is this dog a couch potato? We really don't know. They're not expressing their personality as reliably in the shelter as they would as a foster in your living room. Or even like you can see their energy levels if you take them out on a trail. You can see, boy, he really couldn't keep up. Or you could see, yeah, she just was chugging along the whole time, pulling the whole time. We can kind of assess their energy levels that way. So you would both be giving them a break from the stress of the kennel environment, but you would also be gathering valuable information to assist with adoptions. So hopefully we get some interest in our Doggy Days Out program. We have a plethora of other opportunities. So we have the pet food bank, people in the community who cannot afford to purchase food for their own animals. They can come to us and we provide a small amount of food for no charge at all. We have volunteers working the front desk. We have volunteers doing our gardening and our landscaping. Our maintenance man, Bill, always needs help keeping things running around here. We regularly need help getting our animals to their vet appointments whenever those vet appointments are off-site. So that might be for a surgery or just a little checkup. So animal transport is really important for that. We do special events both at the shelter and at different businesses in the area where we need volunteers to maybe bring some animals or maybe just go there to spread the information about our organization. As I said, we do cat enrichment. So we do basically games and cuddling with the kitties. If you have any medical experience as maybe a nurse or a doctor or a vet or anything in that field, or maybe you have interest in those areas, maybe you want to be a vet tech or something like that, then the medical department would be a great assignment for you to take on. Disaster response, hurricanes happen here all the time, unfortunately. Small animal care, that's going to be like your rabbit that you see here, this little guy. Gerbils, hamsters, guinea pigs, ferrets. We even get some lizards sometimes. We get some birds. So if you're not really a cat person or a dog person, we sometimes have smaller, usually mammals that you can care for. But we don't have very many for very long. So that's not always available, but when they're around, we absolutely do encourage you to come socialize them. You can see all kinds of pictures here of different volunteer opportunities in action. So up in this top corner with these crates, that's transport. That was one big transport push to get a ton of cats and dogs spayed and neutered offsite. That definitely required the help from our transport volunteers. You can see in the middle, we've got a little puppy undergoing anesthesia, and he's getting his little nails trimmed with the help of a volunteer. Then off to the right-hand side here, this is one of our volunteers walking the grounds after Ian. So if you've seen our grounds, they're beautiful and lush and green, but not after Ian. They were, all the trees had fallen, the grounds were muddy and almost impossible to walk over. And it was a literal disaster. So we needed help getting the grounds cleared. We needed help getting the animals cared for under these stressful conditions, and they showed up. You can see in the bottom left corner here, we have, this is actually Theo. His black and white dog is enjoying an offsite event at Planet Fitness, and you can see all the Planet Fitness employees giving him attention and love, and he's loving it. He's since been adopted. You can see in the middle a kitty that was actually at the exact same event. So our offsite events have both dogs and cats. Not every event is going to have both, but this event happened to have both dogs and cats. And then finally, in the bottom right corner, we can see we get these huge donations from members of our community. And those donations need to be organized. So that's where we use our food shed organizer volunteers. Okay, so let's talk about volunteer expectations. Well, pretty much every, and let's just say every volunteer assignment should have volunteers wearing closed-toed shoes. This is just a safety precaution. We don't want your shoe to get stuck in a door somewhere or on a threshold somewhere. We want to keep you as safe as possible. We also need you to wear your name tag whenever you're on site. This is because that name tag indicates you are a volunteer and you are cleared to be in these areas where the general public is not cleared to be. Please make sure to sign up for any shifts that you work if there is a shift for that job. Not every assignment has a shift that is available in our scheduling platform, which I'll show you in a moment. We use Volgistics. And many of the assignments you can sign up for. Some of them are, well, kind of at your own pace, following your own hours. We don't have shifts for those, but we do ask that you track your hours. You don't have to do that manually. You can post your own hours, which I'll show you how to do, or you can sign into our volunteer login sheet at the front desk, or a third option, you can download the Volgistics company has an app on your phone called Vic Touch that you can download, and that allows you to clock in and out, clock in when you arrive, and you can tap to clock out when you leave. But those volunteer hours that you're logging, they are important to us. Some people they're important to, especially students do need some volunteer hours that they need to be able to track. But we also love to track your hours because we are eligible for some grants if we have logged enough volunteer hours over the course of a year. We ask that you always communicate with respect towards the staff and your other volunteers. Always treat the animals in our care with kindness. Of course, you're going to do that. You love animals. Why else would you be here, right? And then finally, once you are trained to work in an assignment, please follow the protocol for the assignment you are working. Don't try to kind of make up the rules yourself. Do follow the guidance of the people who trained you. If you have suggestions on how to improve our systems, please let me or the other staff know, but that can be taken into consideration. We're not going to just do everything the way we feel like doing it, right? That's how we end up in a very chaotic environment. So to wrap up, let me show you in real time, actually, what it looks like to use our scheduling software. So if you want to find how to log in, go to our website. You're going to see volunteer, this volunteer tab right here, and then click volunteer login. And it takes you to our Volgistics platform. It's called VicNet when you, as the volunteer, are trying to log in. So here from VicNet, you're going to use the email that you provided to me in your application. And then your password is going to be automatically set to 1234, and it's going to prompt you to update that password as soon as you log in for the first time. So once we log in, you're going to start with this page that shows you all of the different assignments that I have assigned you, I or some other staff member has assigned you. So you'll notice that I can be a adoption center play yard attendant. I can hang out in the play yard with the doggies. I am a blue dog walker. I'm an intake dog walker. So that's if you work as a red dog walker long enough, there actually is yet another level to the dog walker progression, and that's at the intake building, walking dogs. And then finally, I'm allowed to work special events. But let's say I want to schedule myself for a shift. So I'm going to go up here to the schedule tab. We're going to see all the different dates that show up for the remainder of this month. And let's say I'm trying to work on this Saturday, the 23rd. Notice it says there are 14 openings that I personally can sign up for. So everyone's is going to be different, how many openings and what shows up, but I'm assigned a certain set of assignments that are going to show up for me when I click on that date. So I can see I could be a dog walker at this time. I could do adoption center laundry at basically the same time frame. You'll notice that as we scroll down, it gets later and later throughout the day. If I wanted to sign up for this blue dog walker shift, I can click schedule, and then I click schedule me. Notice also at the bottom, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you can see the other volunteers who have signed up for these different events on that day. So I can see Janet is going to be at this special event that's going on this Saturday, the 23rd. Greg's going to be there too. And so it kind of gives me an idea of, especially as a dog walker, it tells me like, oh, I can see that we've got maybe 3 blue walkers already scheduled, but there are no red walkers. This would be a great day for me to sign up as a red walker, right? Okay, so let's say that you were not given an opportunity to work the assignment you wanted on this day. Let's say I want to be a gardening volunteer and I don't see anywhere here gardening. How the heck am I supposed to volunteer as a gardener? Well, there are a certain number of assignments which are not going to show up on this calendar because they're not scheduled shifts. If let's say you worked a certain morning as a weed puller, then you can go over here to this service tab and you can enter the information. What day did you do that weed pulling? From what time to what time? And then finally, you're going to say, I did the gardening and landscaping. That's not an option for me, but if you're assigned it, it will be. So you can post your own hours. Click post, and then that's going to log in your total number of hours that you've worked. So you can see down here, my service by year. I was most active in 2022. You're going to be able to see your own volunteer hours logged in the same way. Okay, so let's go back really quick to this guy. Just want to show you a list of some of the assignments that are not going to show up on the schedule, but which you can still work. You can still be a photographer. You can take your cat photos and your dog photos, even though it's not on the schedule, you can still do that. And again, you would post those hours yourself under that service tab. You can do the maintenance work. You can do donation pickup, small animal enrichment, animal transport. If you're helping with surgeries and medical, if you're gardening again, these are all assignments which are not going to show up on your schedule, but which you can say, yes, I did do this work at this time on this day. Okay. So thank you so much for attending volunteer orientation. The next steps I will send out to you, but those are going to be getting your training in, scheduling yourself through Volgistics, which I just showed you, and becoming official. So I hope to see you at the shelter very soon. And thank you so much for sitting through this volunteer orientation. Have a wonderful rest of your day.